You are now watching The Lone Blown. Blown!
Yo, what's poppin' YouTube? You're back here at The Lone Blown, and we are here with a filthy deck. And before you get at me and be like, yo, sir, listen up, sir. This card's actually just got banned, sir. This card gets banned as of September 1st, and the Atlas Pog Championships, unless they decide to change it, they've decided to go ahead that Bellelba Brycen-Man is legal for the Atlas Pog 2020 Championships. So we can go forward with our control decks, give them one last hurrah. I mean, you either love these decks or you hate those decks, but as players who are trying to do the best that we possibly can at this event, you got to respect it as an option for now. And whether or not you want to play this deck or not, you want to make sure that you understand how it works or what a common list is going to look like. This list right here is heavily based off a few that I saw that did well at the Japanese National Championships this past year. And I'm not going to say that I'm a control expert by any means. I think this list is pretty standard when it comes down to it. So let's jump into this deck profile. Let me know how much you hate control in the comments below, or how much you love this deck. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel while you're at it. All right, away we go. So the way that this deck works is you want to lock your opponent with Mareep using Fluffy Pillow. You can leave your opponent's active Pokemon asleep. You want to make them doubly asleep because of Slumbering Forest. So if a Pokemon is asleep, that Pokemon has to flip 2 coins for that special condition in between turns. So if they have to get double heads in order to get out of that position. So what does that mean for us? We can lock our opponent a little bit while we do other cool things. While we're doing that, we want to use Magcargo Smooth Over to put the cards that we want on top of our deck, gather them with Oranguru, swapping the top card of our deck with a card in our hands, and continuously either using Resource Management or Intrepid Sword to get cards back into our deck or to draw more cards. We want to get our opponent to a point where we can deck them out with Bellelba Brycen-Man by using Magcargo's Burning Magma GX to discard the top 5 cards. Overall, if our opponent gets ahead in prize cards, we can use a combination of Burning Magma GX, we can use Lieutenant Surge's strategy to play 2 Bellelbas to discard the top 11 cards of their deck, all while going over and over. So let's go over the cards one by one in this deck profile. Now that you understand how the light strategy works for the deck, let's explain them. So as I went over a little bit before, you can grab the cards that you want on top of your deck. Now this might be to get out other Slugmas, might be that missing Slumbering Forest for Mareep. You need to pick and choose the pieces that you want for this puzzle. I mean, it's going to be heavily dependent on the situation you're in, so don't think otherwise, I guess. Magcargo's a tough one to choose. This is a deck that I thoroughly recommend doing as much research as possible, understanding how to play it properly, making sure you're reading articles, making sure you're playtesting online in real life, things like that. We got Magcargo GX here. Magcargo GX is good for Burning Magma to discard the top 5 cards of your opponent's decks. Now, it is possible to use Crushing Charge or Lava Flow if your opponent only has 1 Pokemon in play, or if you could wipe out all their energies. It's just a very uncommon strategy with this deck. You basically want to use Burning Magma GX. We got Slugma. Every Pokemon has to evolve from somewhere, and we're starting with Slugma. It's just how this deck's really going to work. This one, you could actually stop your opponent from retreating with Magma Ring. That might slow them down a couple turns, especially if they can't find Switch. Fluffy Pillow is meant to make your opponent's active Pokemon asleep, to work with Slumbering Forest to make them double asleep. We have 3 copies of Zacian. We just want this deck to be stupid consistent, crazy consistent. Intrepid Sword, just drawing 3 cards. You can't get the metal energies, but you can grab a whole bunch of this stuff. We got Resource Management, and we're basically only playing this Guru for Resource Management. You can grab 3 cards back from your discard pile and put them at the bottom of your deck in any order you like, and then you could grab them back with Magcargo with Smooth Over. Now, since we're playing 2 of this Magcargo, we can only, or 2 of this Oranguru, we can only play 2 of this Oranguru. Primate Wisdom, you want to use this in combination with Magcargo to switch the top card of your deck, so you're always grabbing what you smoothed over to the top of your deck. So Oranguru is pretty helpful from that aspect. We also have Girafarig. Now, Girafarig here is, if our opponent has anything good in their discard pile, that we could lost zone for the rest of the game. That's exactly what we want to do. There's nothing worse than your opponent being able to continuously get back resources. Maybe they have a way to get around your Slumbering Forest, something like that. We don't want them to have that. Girafarig, we catch them at the wrong time. We either wait for them to play something, or we go with Bellelba Brycen-Man to discard it ourselves. Slumbering Forest, beyond just making your opponent double sleep, is a stadium card. So if your opponent has something like Heat Factory, Wonder Slab, or anything, feel free to bump it with this. Just be careful with Chaotic Swell. Now, if Chaotic Swell becomes popular in this format, we will likely add a Marshadow into this list. Bellelba Brycen-Man. Now, this kind of has a dual purpose for this event. You can discard the top 3 cards of each player's deck, which this is a deck out control mill deck, but you could also discard another 3 cards from your hand and discard until your opponent has 3 Pokemon left on your bench. You can discard a lot of your opponent's Eternatus VMAX resources if they are playing that deck. Do keep that in mind. They might not be able to knock out your Zacian V or any other Pokemon at that point. Just keep it in check as an option, especially if that's how they're going to be able to win the game. Cynthia Caitlin's really good in this deck because we do play Tag Call. We can search out both Bellelba and Cynthia and Caitlin, or any combination of the two of them, whether it's 2 Cynthia Caitlin, 2 Bellelba and Brycen-Man. You can grab a supported card from your discard pile and put it into your hands. You can't grab Cynthia or Caitlin or a card you discarded with the effect of this card. And if you discard a card from your hand, you could draw 3 cards. We have a lot of different supporters in this deck, so this can get us back some resources, save us some time, and draw us a few cards in the process. Lieutenant Sir's strategy is just so that when we fall behind on prize cards, because we are not drawing prize cards with resource management or any of these other cards, we could just continuously play 3 supporters a turn. Lieutenant Surge does count as one of those supporters. Tate Liza's just so that we have a way to have a shuffle draw supporter, and we have a way to switch from our active to our bench. If our opponent's playing item lock, such as Vigavolt, we will not be able to switch from the active to the bench. We got Faba here to just take one of our opponent's Pokemon tools, Special Energy, or Stadium card in play and put into the lost zone. I mean, this is a way instead of Marshadow to get rid of a Chaotic Swell, so that might work a little bit better there than the Marshadow anyways. But we could also just bully up on our opponent's Speed Lightning energies, Capture energies. There's a lot of special energies in this format, so Faba's actually a really great card. We have Bird Keeper, so we can switch our active Pokemon with our bench and draw 3 cards. So kind of like an extension of Tate Liza, it gives us a way out of the active spot, especially if our opponent's playing a Vigavolt V or other item lock deck, such as Dustox Cryogonal. Got Lillie's Pokédoll here. This is a really good Pokemon to sacrifice because it's not worth any prize cards. So we're trying to build up every strategy that we've discussed already in this deck. You just want to send a Lillie's Pokédoll to the active spots and sacrifice it. It also allows you to never deck out. You could always loop it back into your deck. So it does give you that option, especially with Bellelba and Brycen-Man. Do keep that in mind. We have Pokemon Communication. We have a lot of Pokemon that we specifically want, and we have evolution cards. So it does make this deck a little bit more consistent, whether we need to get out a Magcargo, or if we're struggling to find a Zacian V on our first turn. For similar reasons, we have 4 copies of Quick Ball. This deck has 3, 6, 9, 13, 14 basic Pokemon that we could search out with Quick Ball. Seems strong enough for me. We could also discard a supporter that we can get back with Cynthia and Caitlin. Tag Call, as already explained, is a great way to search out Bellelba and Brycen-Man and Cynthia and Caitlin. Really, nothing else there. Some lists do play Mewtwo. Some lists will play a copy of Guzma. I'm fine with just the Bellelba and Brycen-Man and Cynthia and Caitlin right now. If I were to testing this deck a little bit more serious for my personal use, I would experiment a lot more with it and fine-tune it as the metagame became a little bit more relevant. We have so many supporters that we want to be getting back, so Pal Pad allows us to keep on cycling back Bellelba and Brycen-Man. So instead of just grabbing Bellelba, Brycen-Man, and let's say Lieutenant Surge's strategy, we can get back Pal Pad, and that gets us 6 cards back instead of 3 cards. And maybe it's not Pal Pad, because we only play 2, but maybe it's Pal Pad, Ordinary Rod, Reset Stamp. It gives you a lot more flexibility when it comes to grabbing cards back with resource management, so do keep that in mind. We did go over a little bit Ordinary Rod. We are discarding cards with Bellelba and Brycen-Man, Quick Ball, among other things. So keep in mind that we will have to get some of our resources back. If our opponent knocks out any of these Pokemon, or if we discard them with Bellelba and Brycen-Man, we might want them back at a future time. We got 1 copy of Switch, and while it's really weird to play 1 copy of Switch, sometimes you cannot attach an Air Balloon to a Pokemon to get it free retreat, or Air Balloon will not get it out of the active spot, such as with the Magcargo GX. You also might not be playing against an item lock deck, so you could just sometimes get out of the active spot, search your deck for that single one of Switch, because the beauty of Smoothover, we can have singleton cards and search them out at our will. So maybe Air Balloon isn't the best card we want. We don't want to attach it to a Pokemon necessarily. Our opponent might have brought up this Magcargo with 3 retreat costs to the active spot and just went pass. Switch does allow us to get out of there, especially if we need to play supporters for our turn. So right now I like 1 copy of Switch. Got a copy of Reset Stamp. I almost would like to see another copy of this, or maybe a copy of Marnie. Your opponent shuffles their hand into their deck and just draws a card for each of the remaining prize cards. If our opponent's drawn a lot of prize cards, we could Reset Stamp them, and then Bellelba and Brycen-Man them. Might be interesting enough. We got a couple copies of Air Balloon, and that's just because a lot of these Pokemon have 2 retreat costs. Can get them out of the active spots. And then we could just keep it on those Pokemon to send up every single turn after our Pokemon like Lillie's Pokédoll or Oranguru get knocked out. We got Capture Energy, so we could search out things like Slugma, Mareep, and Zacian on our first turn. And the attacks that we're attacking with are basically Resource Management or Get Lost, so we only really need Colorless Energy. We also have Fire Energy, just so that we could have Fire Energy to attack with Burning Magma GX. Or it's also really helpful if we're using something like Heat Factory. Recycle Energy is the energy we want to attach to the Pokemon that's going to keep on attacking, just so that when this Pokemon eventually gets knocked out, or this Pokemon gets knocked out, this energy gets bounced back into our hand and we don't have to grab it back with Resource Management or try to fish it back with Ordinary Rod. That's another benefit of Fire Energy. You can get it back with Ordinary Rod. So overall, we got a pretty basic control deck here. And I mean, this is our last hurrah to play a control deck. If you ever wanted to give it an opportunity, this might be the last chance that we have something as neat as this deck. Because Bellelba and Brycen-Man is certainly a huge crutch for that deck. So give it a try. Let me know how you feel about this deck in the comments below. And remember to subscribe to the channel for more awesome content, whether you're playtesting, getting ready for the Atlas POG 2020 Championships, whether you're playing casually on PTCGO, and as of right now, whether you're playing the VGC in any capacity. So make sure that you check out the channel. And beyond that, happy testing. Have yourself a great one. Thanks so much for watching.
Really hope that you enjoyed watching that video. I totally enjoyed making it. If you enjoyed it, be sure to like the video, share the video with everyone that you know, and subscribe to the channel as well. Totally appreciate all the support. We got a lot of cool things happening on the channel, so stay tuned for more. Be sure to check out the social links in the description. Thanks and have yourself a great one.